Please, my lady, help us. The Baron, he never forgives.
The mining world was quiet in a way that felt wrong. Dust rolled across the flat land like slow waves. The sky was pale and empty, with no ships and no signals. This planet was far from any trade route, far from help. Only one human lived here, a miner who worked alone. His name did not matter to the galaxy. He had been sent here because no one else wanted the job. Long days of digging ore, long nights of silence. The machines talked more than people ever did. He was used to being forgotten. On this day, the miner was walking back to his shelter. His suit was dirty and heavy, his body tired. The wind pushed sand against his visor. Then he saw something standing in the distance. A thin shape, dark against the dust. At first he thought it was scrap metal. Then he realized it was a pole. A tall metal pole planted deep into the ground. Something was attached to it. Something hanging. He stopped walking. His heart slowed, then started racing. No one came to this planet by accident. He moved closer, step by careful step. The wind pulled at his coat. As he reached the pole, he saw her. An alien girl, young and small. Her arms were bound above her head. Her body hung weak and still. Her skin was pale and marked with dried blood. She was alive. Barely. Her chest moved in slow, shallow breaths. Her eyes were closed. Her head leaned to one side. Hanging from her neck was a metal sign. The letters were burned deep and clear. Written in galactic common. The miner could read it easily. The sign said, "The Baron never forgives." The words were not just a message. They were a threat. They were meant for anyone who passed by. A warning written in pain. The miner felt cold inside. Everyone in the outer systems knew the Baron. A ruler who owned planets like tools. A leader who ruled through fear. Those who disobeyed were not killed quickly. They were displayed. The miner knew what this meant. Helping her was a crime. Touching her was a challenge to power. Walking away was the safe choice. The smart choice. He stood there for a long moment. The wind moved her hair gently. Dust clung to her feet. She looked so small against the empty world. So alone. The miner remembered his own arrival years ago. Dropped on this planet with no welcome. No one asked if he was afraid. No one cared if he survived. He had learned what it felt like to be left behind. A soft sound came from her throat. Not a word, just pain. Her fingers twitched slightly. That small movement broke something inside him. He reached for his cutting tool. This channel tells stories like this. Stories of courage and choice. So if you enjoy this journey, please consider subscribing and staying with the story. He did not rush. He knew speed could hurt her more. He cut the bindings carefully. The metal burned as it separated. Her body dropped into his arms. She was lighter than he expected. Too light. He lowered her gently to the ground. Her eyes opened for a moment. Fear flashed inside them. She tried to speak. No sound came out. The miner raised his hand slowly. A sign of peace used by humans everywhere. He whispered softly even though she might not understand. He wrapped her in his coat, shielding her from the cold wind. The sign fell to the ground beside the pole. The words still visible in the dust. The Baron never forgives. The miner knew he had crossed a line. There was no turning back now. He lifted her carefully and began walking toward his shelter. Each step felt heavier than the last. The silence of the planet felt thinner. Then his suit sensor beeped. A sharp sudden sound. He froze in place. A signal spike appeared on his display. Engines. Far above the horizon, lights appeared in the sky. Ships breaking through the thin clouds. Searching. The Baron did not forgive. And he did not forget. The miner did not stop walking. His arms tightened around the alien girl as the lights in the sky grew brighter. The ship stayed far, only watching. Like hunters who already knew their prey was trapped. He reached his shelter just before night fully settled. The entrance was hidden under rock and dust. An old human design, simple but strong. He sealed the door behind him and shut down all external lights. The underground room fell into dim silence. He laid the girl on a narrow bed. The air inside was warm, filtered, safe for now. Her breathing was still weak, but steadier than before. He removed his gloves and worked carefully, cleaning dried blood from her skin. She was not like any species he had seen before. Her skin had a soft glow under the light. Faint markings ran along her arms. They looked like symbols, not wounds. Old, meaningful. The miner used basic medical spray. Human tech was rough but effective. Her body reacted slowly, then settled. He stepped back and watched her chest rise and fall. Only then did he allow himself to breathe. Everyone in the outer systems knew the Baron's law. It was simple and cruel. Disobedience was punished publicly. Mercy was treated as weakness. Fear was the true ruler. The Baron did not need armies everywhere. Stories did his work for him. A body on a pole. A sign with a message. Planets learned quickly. The miner had seen those signs before. Not in person, but in data feeds. Rebels left in vacuum. Workers crushed under debt and law. Entire species bent or erased. A quiet sound pulled him back to the present. The girl stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, wide and alert. Fear returned instantly, sharp and wild. She tried to pull away. The miner stepped back at once. He lowered himself to one knee, keeping his hands visible. His voice stayed calm and low. He spoke in simple galactic common. "You are safe here," he said. "The pole is gone. No Baron here." She stared at him. Her eyes moved to the walls, the lights, the door, then back to his face. Her breathing grew fast. "Human," she whispered. "Yes," he answered. "Human miner." Her hands trembled. "Why?" she asked. "Why help?" The question was not angry. It was confused. In her world, help had a price. Kindness was always a lie. The miner felt the weight of her words. "Because leaving you was wrong," he said simply. She looked away, as if those words hurt more than the pole ever did. She tried to sit up and failed. Pain crossed her face. The miner moved closer, but stopped when she flinched. "Rest," he said. "They will come," she replied. "I know," he said. "They always come." She told him about the Baron's law, how entire systems lived under it, how her people once refused to kneel, how the Baron answered with fire and chains. She was not a criminal. She was a courier, a messenger trusted with truth. She carried proof of what the Baron had done. Records, orders, executions. Enough to break his image. "They caught me," she said softly. "Not to kill. To show." The miner clenched his jaw. The pole was never about justice. It was theater. Fear carved into metal and flesh. A lesson written in silence. A warning alarm flashed quietly on his console. Long-range scanners picked up movement. Ships spreading out, scanning the surface. Slow and careful. Confident. "They are looking for you," he said. "And now for me." Her eyes filled with fear again. "You must let me go," she said. "They will spare you." The miner shook his head. "Humans learned something long ago," he said. "Fear only grows when obeyed." The ships above adjusted their formation. One signal locked onto the surface. Closer now. Patient. Certain. The Baron's law had reached this lonely planet. And for the first time, a forgotten human miner had chosen to break it. The underground shelter felt smaller as the ships above moved slowly across the sky. The hum of distant engines passed through the rock, like a warning. The miner shut down all unnecessary systems. Lights dimmed, machines went quiet. Silence returned, heavy and tense. The alien girl lay still for a long moment. Then she spoke again, her voice low and careful. "You do not understand why I was there," she said. "Hanging was not punishment. It was a message." The miner sat on the floor near her, not too close. "I know," he said, "but tell me anyway." She closed her eyes, as if opening a door she had tried to seal. "My people once worked for the Baron," she began. "We mined, traded, built. We followed his rules. Until we saw the truth." She told him how the Baron's rule was built on lies, how resources vanished while worlds starved, how entire colonies were erased from records, not destroyed but rewritten, as if they never existed. "My mother found the data first," she said. "She was an archivist. She believed knowledge should protect life. She was wrong." The miner listened without moving. Above them, a ship passed directly overhead. The shelter walls vibrated slightly. The girl continued anyway. "When my mother tried to send the truth," she said, "they came at night. They did not arrest her. They took her name. The Baron's law allowed no martyrs, only silence. People vanished so completely that fear filled the space they left behind. The girl learned then that truth alone was not enough. It had to survive. She became a courier, one of many, small, fast, easy to miss, each carrying pieces of the truth, hoping one would get through. They caught me near the outer rim," she said. "I could have run, but I chose to speak." The miner frowned. "You spoke to them," he said. "Yes," she replied. "I told them the galaxy would learn. I told them fear does not last forever." That was when the Baron decided she would not die quickly. A dead body could inspire anger. A living warning created obedience. So they brought her to the mining world, a place no one cared about. "They hung me where miners pass," she said, "so workers would see. So hope would die quietly." The miner's hands curled into fists. He had walked that path 100 times. If he had come 1 day later, 1 hour later, there would have been nothing left to save. A sudden beep cut through the shelter. Closer this time. Surface scanners had narrowed their search. The Baron's scouts were methodical. They did not rush. "They will find the pole," the girl said. "They will see it is empty. Then they will widen the search." The miner stood and checked his equipment. Old tools, mining charges, worn weapons. Nothing meant for war. But humans had learned long ago. Survival often began with scraps. "Why didn't they kill you when they caught you?" he asked. She looked at him directly now. "Because they were afraid," she said. "Afraid of what she carried. Afraid of what the truth could do. Afraid that someone, somewhere, would choose to listen." The miner felt something shift inside him. A familiar feeling. Humans had once been treated the same way. Ignored, underestimated, pushed to the edge. Until they learned that being small did not mean being weak. The galaxy had forgotten that lesson, or chosen to ignore it. A low vibration shook the shelter. Closer than before. Dust fell from the ceiling. The girl tried to stand again, and failed. Pain tightened her face. "You should leave," she said. "Take a ship if you have one. Humans are not the Baron's enemy." The miner shook his head slowly. "No," he said, "but we become enemies when pushed." He knelt beside her. "This planet has tunnels," he said. "Old shafts, dead ends, places scanners cannot see. They think I am alone. That is their mistake." Her eyes widened slightly. "You will fight," she said. "I will protect," he replied. "There is a difference." Above them, a ship descended lower than before. Searchlights cut across the dust. The Baron's law was closing in, but something else was rising with it. A quiet human defiance. The girl reached into a hidden pocket on her torn clothing. She pulled out a small data core, cracked but intact. "This is why I lived," she said. The miner took it carefully, feeling its weight. Outside, boots touched the ground, metal against stone. The hunt had begun. The miner moved fast now, but not in panic. Humans learned long ago that fear wastes time. He dimmed the last light and guided the girl toward a narrow tunnel. The tunnel sloped down into darkness. Old mining paths the Baron's maps did not show. Above them, the first scout entered the shelter. Metal boots struck stone. A sharp voice spoke orders in clipped tones. They expected a weak human. They expected surrender. The miner sealed a side hatch and slid a control. The floor behind him shifted. Loose gravel fell into a deep shaft, masking heat traces and sound. Human mining tricks, simple and effective. He set the girl down in a small chamber. Air flowed clean here. Hidden vents kept it alive. "Stay," he said. "If they come close, do not move." She nodded, trusting him now. The scouts spread out. Their scanners swept the tunnels. Bright beams cut through dust. They moved slowly, confident. The Baron's law had never failed them before. The miner waited in shadow. He placed small charges along the tunnel walls. Mining explosives repurposed for defense. Not to kill at first. To confuse. A scout stepped forward. The charge went off with a dull thump. Rock collapsed, sealing the path. Dust filled the air. Sensors screamed false signals. The scouts shouted in anger. They fired blindly into the dark, wasting power and time. The miner moved through side passages, always staying unseen. Humans fought differently. They did not rush the strongest point. They attacked patience itself. Every step the scouts took became slower, every choice heavier. Another scout broke away from the group. The miner waited until the last moment. He dropped from above, striking joints, cutting power lines. The scout fell without a sound. He dragged the body into a shaft and covered it. No trophies, no noise, only absence. Fear grew faster when enemies disappeared. The Baron's soldiers knew that truth too. The alien girl listened from the chamber, hearing distant sounds, feeling the ground shake softly. She realized the human was not trying to win quickly. He was shaping the fight. Outside, searchlights swept wider. More ships landed. The Baron's forces believed numbers meant control, but numbers needed direction, and direction was fading. A scout finally found the pole. Empty, silent. The sign lay broken in the dust. The message undone. Anger crackled through their comms. They are angry now, the girl whispered to herself. She clutched the data core, knowing every second mattered. The miner returned briefly, breathing hard but steady. They underestimate humans, he said. He checked her injuries again, reinforced the chamber seal, then left without another word. Back into the tunnels, back into shadow. The scouts regrouped, changed tactics. They began sealing exits, flooding tunnels with drones. Cold, mechanical eyes searching everywhere. The miner adapted. He rerouted power, created heat ghosts, false trails that led drones into dead ends. Human problem solving under pressure. A drone spotted movement. Alert flared. Scouts rushed in. Too fast. Too sure. The miner triggered the final trap. A controlled cave-in. Not lethal, but separating the group, breaking coordination. In the confusion, he struck again. Short, precise actions. Disabling suits, cutting lines, leaving soldiers alive, but helpless. Witnesses. Those who escaped sent panicked reports. A single human, moving like the planet itself. Invisible, patient, unstoppable. The Baron's law did not explain this. The alien girl felt something new. Not hope exactly. Something stronger. Belief. She understood now why humans survived. The miner returned one last time. Sweat and dust on his face. They will pull back, he said. They always do when control slips. But this is not over. Above ground, ships lifted slightly. Reforming, recalculating. The Baron would not accept this failure. He would come himself. And humans knew what that meant. The miner looked at the data core in her hands. This changes everything, he said. She met his eyes without fear. Only if we live long enough, she replied. Far above, a new signal appeared. Larger, heavier, undeniable. The Baron's flagship changing course. The war was no longer quiet, and the galaxy had begun to notice. The ground felt calm for a moment. Too calm. The miner stood still and listened to the planet itself. The machines were quiet, the tunnels empty. But the sky above was no longer patient. The signal from the new ship was different. Heavier, deeper, absolute. Every system on the planet reacted to it. Power grids trembled. Old sensors woke up. Even the dust storms shifted direction. The alien girl felt it too. A pressure in her chest. A memory of fear learned long before words. She did not need to ask who had arrived. She already knew. The Baron, she said softly. The miner did not answer. He was staring at the console, reading data streams faster than the machines liked. His jaw tightened. The Baron never came for small things. He sent others to punish, to frighten, to display. But when he arrived himself, it meant one thing. Something had challenged his authority. The miner turned off the external feeds and sat down, for the first time since cutting her from the pole. He allowed himself to think about the end. Not fear, just reality. They will surround the planet, he said. Block all exits. Then they will speak. The alien girl nodded. That is his way, she said. He offers survival in exchange for obedience, and destruction in exchange for defiance. The miner looked at the small data core again. So small, so fragile. Inside it was proof of crimes, enough to shake systems. If he said it now, the signal would expose their location. The Baron would know exactly where the truth came from. There would be no escape, no hiding. If he did not send it, they might run, hide deeper in space, live a quiet life, and the Baron would rule forever. The shelter felt smaller again, not because of the ships, but because of the choice. You can still leave, the girl said, her voice steady but her hands shaking. Use a mining shuttle. Humans are fast learners. The miner smiled slightly, a tired human smile. I spent my life digging holes for people who forgot my name, he said. If I run now, that is all I will ever be. He stood and powered up the old transmitter, a machine never meant for messages like this. It whined and protested. The girl's eyes widened. You cannot, she said. If I send this, he continued, they will hear it everywhere. Even worlds the Baron thinks are silent. The ships above began to descend. Not fast, not aggressive, confident. A calm voice echoed through the shelter speakers. Deep, controlled, amused. Human miner, the voice said, you have something that belongs to me. The Baron's voice carried no anger, only certainty, as if the outcome was already decided. Release the prisoner, the voice continued. You will be allowed to live. Refuse, and this planet will be erased. The alien girl closed her eyes. She had heard these words before, on other worlds, before other endings. The miner placed the data core into the transmitter slot. His hand paused, just for a second. History often waited for moments like that. He thought of Earth, of old stories where humans stood alone, outnumbered, ignored, and chose to speak anyway. He pressed the button. The transmitter screamed to life. Energy surged through ancient wires. The signal burst outward, unstoppable. Across the system, receivers lit up. Civilian channels, trade networks, hidden relays. The Baron's secrets spread faster than fear ever had. Truth does not need permission. The Baron's voice returned instantly. No longer amused. No longer calm. You have chosen extinction. The miner turned to the girl. It was never about survival, he said. It was about being human. The shelter shook as the first strike hit the surface. Not deadly yet. A warning. The Baron still believed fear could undo choice. But far beyond this lonely planet, worlds were watching, listening, remembering, and something ancient and dangerous began to wake. The planet shook again, stronger this time. Rock cracked, dust fell like rain. The Baron's fleet formed a dark ring in the sky. Silent, complete. There was nowhere left to run. Inside the shelter, warning lights glowed red. Power dropped in waves. The old walls groaned under pressure. The alien girl steadied herself against the console, her eyes fixed on the ceiling. He will come down, she said. He always does when he wants witnesses. The miner checked the remaining systems. Life support was stable. Weapons were useless now. Against the Baron, force was not the answer. The air shifted. A heavy presence pressed down on the planet. Then the ground above split open. A landing craft descended slowly, deliberately, as if the planet itself was bowing. The Baron entered without haste. Tall, wrapped in dark armor that reflected no light. His face was calm, almost gentle, eyes old and sharp. A ruler who had never been told no. He walked into the shelter as if it already belonged to him. His guard stayed back. He wanted this moment to be personal. He looked at the miner, then at the alien girl. You survived longer than expected, the Baron said. A human hiding in dust. And a broken courier. The miner stood straight. No weapons in his hands. No fear in his voice. You came too late, he replied. The Baron smiled slightly. A message sent does not mean belief. People fear me more than truth. Outside, distant signals flickered. Some ships hesitated. Some held position. The data was spreading, and with it doubt. The alien girl stepped forward. Her legs shook, but her voice did not. You taught the galaxy to obey, she said. Humans taught it to question. The Baron turned to her slowly. I hung you so others would learn, he said, and now they will learn again. He raised his hand. Power gathered. The miner stepped between them without thinking. A simple human instinct. To shield. Enough, the miner said. You rule because people believe you are untouchable. That belief just ended. For the first time, the Baron's expression changed. Not anger, but calculation. A signal interrupted the silence. One of his own commanders, speaking urgently. Reports of unrest. Trade worlds refusing orders. Security fleets hesitating. The Baron listened. His hand lowered slowly. He realized something important then. Fear works only when it is alone. You think this changes anything? The Baron said quietly. Empires survive storms. Not when the storm is truth, the miner replied. Outside, a distant explosion lit the sky. Not an attack. A mutiny. A fleet breaking formation. The alien girl felt tears on her face. Not from fear this time, but release. The Baron stood very still. For a long moment, the galaxy holding its breath with him. Finally, he spoke again. The Baron never forgives, he said, his voice steady. But the certainty was gone. He turned away, his guards tense, uncertain. The ruler of fear had learned something new, that even he could not erase choice. The miner watched as the Baron left the shelter. The ground no longer bowed, the sky no longer silent. The law that ruled through terror had cracked, and through that crack, the future was pushing in. The sky above the mining world changed before the battle ever reached the ground. Ships that once obeyed without question began to drift apart. Formations broke, signals crossed, orders were delayed. The Baron's fleet was still powerful, but it was no longer united. Across nearby systems, screens lit up with the same message. Images of executions, erased worlds, broken treaties. The truth spread faster than fear ever could. Merchants paused shipments. Soldiers hesitated. The Baron returned to his flagship in silence. For the first time in his rule, his commands were questioned, not shouted down, but delayed. That delay changed everything. On the surface, the miner helped the alien girl sit near the shelter entrance. They watched the sky together, neither speaking, both knowing the moment was bigger than them. She broke the silence first. They will remember this world, she said. They will remember you. The miner shook his head slowly. No, he replied. They will remember the choice. Messages arrived from distant colonies. Voices long silent began to speak. Workers refused orders. Governors demanded answers. All because one signal had been sent. The Baron's allies met without him. Not to plan punishment, but survival. Power built on fear collapses when fear finds an exit. And humans had shown one. A formal transmission reached the mining world. Cold, official, controlled. The Baron was being removed, not executed. Stripped of command, the alien girl closed her eyes. A long breath escaped her. Not joy, but relief. Days passed, then weeks. Ships came and went, not to punish, but to witness. The lonely mining planet became a place of quiet history. Representatives from many species arrived. They expected a warrior, a leader, a symbol of strength. They found a tired human miner. He refused titles, refused rewards, refused power. He asked only one thing, to be left alone again. The galaxy did not fully understand that, but it learned from it. The alien girl chose a different path. She spoke for those erased, for the forgotten, for the worlds that learned fear before hope. She carried the truth openly now. When asked about humans, she answered simply, they are dangerous. Not because of weapons, not because of numbers, but because they care when it costs them everything. The Baron was placed on trial, not by one species, but by many. His law dismantled piece by piece. Fear replaced with memory. On distant worlds, stories began to change. Children learned a new lesson. That power could be challenged. That obedience was not destiny. That even one voice could matter. The miner returned to his work, digging or under quiet skies. Machines humming softly. The planet once again forgotten, just the way he wanted it. Sometimes ships passed overhead, not to land, but to look, to remember where the galaxy turned, and why. The sign that once hung from the pole was never replaced. The pole itself was removed, leaving only dust and wind, and a place where fear had failed. Far beyond the mining world, humans were spoken of differently, not as weak, not as tools, but as a warning. If pushed too far, if left no choice, they would stand, not loudly, but firmly. And the galaxy learned something it could never unlearn, that the most dangerous thing in the universe is not an empire, not a fleet, but a single human who decides that enough is enough.